So, input function gives me an answer. That answer then goes into the next function, right? And then you get an answer. Now that can go on forever. Anyone done nested if statements in Excel? Anyone done that with IT? No? It's the wrong example then. But it's kind of like the result of one is used inside the next function. So I've not put an x in that second function because actually it's not g of x. If I've used a question mark, I guess I would do g of question mark. Alright? And then I would get the answer out. Now what we've got to be able to do is again apply the notation, understand the notation, but we've got to do it with numbers, but we've also got to be able to do it algebraically. Right? So, for instance, this would be written such as I do f of x, but then I do g of f of x. Right? So that's one way you might see it. Another way you might see it written is just gf of x, or, as is in the book, I think, gf of x. A little circle-y dot thing. Yeah. Right. So, different notation, whatever you want to do, as long as you recognise that's what it means. Now, you will notice that it's G then F, because we're used to reading left to right, but we're not actually doing that. The F applies directly to the X, because that's the first thing that's done, okay? That's the first function. The second function has to kind of envelope the first function. Right? So, if I were to say to you, for instance, h g of x, right, what would the diagram that I drew initially look like? So it would be x go in. What would be in the box? So it would be g of x. Now actually, I'm going to add something else in. Let's say the output is y, in this case. And then I have to apply h. And I would do h of y, in this case. Right? Now at the end, there would be no y, right, if I wrote it, because that is where I would do h of g of x, because we look at what the initial thing I put in was. Right? The midpoint y doesn't become involved. So, if I were to state to you that f of x equals 2x plus 3 again, seem to like that one, and g of x equals x squared plus 2, if I said to you what is f of g of 3, for instance, or g of f, okay, of x equals 6, okay, again, substitute, solve, right? How would we go about doing the first one? What would we do? Yeah?
Would you put 3 into the x squared plus 2?
Yeah, exactly. So first thing I do is do g of 3. So that is 3 squared plus 2, which equals 11. And then I need to do f of 11, which is 2 times 11 plus 3, which equals 25. So f of g of 3 is 25. That's my final answer. So actually when it's for numbers, it's easier just to keep the two things separate. What about, though, g of f of x equals 6?
Don't you have to combine them?
Okay, so what we've got to do, really, to be able to solve this, is actually find what gf of x is as its own function. Alright? So we've got to look into that, because otherwise it's like, well, because what we would do is we would say, well, x goes into 2x plus 3, gives me an answer, and then that answer goes into x squared plus 2, and I get the answer 6. So I could do it backwards. Right? So, let's have a quick go with it this way. So what do you reckon? So if green's really rubbish colours. Right, if I do 6 came out, what must have gone in? Okay, be careful.
Like 6 minus 2 or 4 squared.
So let's solve first. X squared plus 2 equals 6. So x squared equals 4, which means x must equal or minus 2. That's the thing, isn't it? Plus or minus 2. So we have got to be a little bit careful. So actually now, from here, we've got to split into 2 parts. So we've got to have, well, 2x plus 3 equals either 2 or equals minus 2. So we actually potentially have 2 starting points here. So what would that be? So in this case, x would equal almost minus a half. Yeah, good. Solving that. And this one would equal
Minus.
no.
Minus. Plus
Minus
2
2 and 2.
Minus 2.5 or minus 5 over 2. I'd happily leave it as minus 5 over 2. Of course, you subtract the 3, gives you minus 5, and then divide by 2. Okay, minus 2.5 over 1. So actually, they are my 2 possible solutions there. The other way to look at it is actually, let's find what gf of x is as a function in its own right. And let's see whether we get the same solutions. So we've got 2x plus 3 and g of x. So let's actually find what g of f of x is as its own function. Alright? So how do we do that? Well, we apply 2x plus 3 to x. So again, it's like saying what comes out here. So 2x plus 3 comes out. Now we have to put 2x plus 3 into x squared plus 2. So what's that going to look like? That's 2x plus 3 squared plus 2. Yeah. Now if we were going to multiply that out, so I like what you were talking about at the back, 2x plus 3 squared is not, so just state again, is not 4x squared plus 9. It's not that. You cannot, at this stage, write that anymore. Right? Will not accept it. 2x plus 3 squared is, yeah, plus 2, which is the 4x squared. It is the plus 9 as well, but we must have plus 12x in the middle because it's, you know, 2 at 4x squared, but then it's 6x makes the 12x squared, and then the plus 2. So we end up with 4x squared plus 12x plus 11. Right? Now you might say, well, that's not any easier. If I wanted to do g of f of x equals 6, I would have to do 4x squared plus 12x plus 11 equals 6. So out of interest, right, if I was then going to do, so g of f of x equals 6, therefore 4x squared plus 12x plus 11 equals 6, what would you guys do to then solve that? Okay, so minus 6 from both sides. Okay. So we've got 4x squared plus 12x plus 5 equals 0. Right. And at that point, yeah, well, do you think it factorizes? Probably does, actually. The reason why I say it probably does factorize is because we've got two quite simple answers there. Alright? So, should we have a go? How would you try and factorize that? So, this is what we're looking at doing.
Where the minus 6 has come from?
Because we can't solve for equaling 6. So we've taken 6 away from both sides to make it equal 0. Because when you solve a quadratic, you have equals 0.
Yeah.
So factorise that. How do we have a go? We have a method. We have done this. So what would you say? What would we try and do?
Transform 5.
Pardon?
Transform 5 into 9 minus 4.
Why would you do that?
To make the perfect.
Oh, I see. But actually, perfect squares, does it work with the...
No,
9?
you need divided by.
But that's, you're looking at completed square form again. Let's try and factorise. So, yeah, we've got to do the split in the middle term. So, okay, so, just going to rewrite it. 4x squared plus 12x plus 5. Split the middle term. So we've got to do 4, this 4, times that 5, equals 20. Alright? Then what do? We have to find 10 and 2. Yeah? 10 times 2 makes the 20. And that gives you the 12.
Yeah.
So then we have 4x squared plus 10x plus 2x using the 10 times 2. Alright? Plus 5. And then we factorise again. So we remember we split it down the middle. So we've got 2x times 2x plus 5. And then we've got plus 2x plus 5. So we then factorise another time, gives you 2x plus 5, obviously. But what's in the other bracket? 2x plus 1. Okay. And that is then easily solvable. And you get the same answers. Do you all know how to solve this at this point now?
Yep.
No, do you want me to recap to anyone? Yeah. Okay, so if this is true, I'm stating that 2x plus 1 has to be 0, or 2x plus 5 has to be 0. So then rearrange, we've got 2x equals minus 1, which means x is minus a half, which is what we had. And this one is 2x equals minus 5, and x equals minus 5 over 2. So we get the same answer. Now you might say, actually, the first one was the easiest way to do it in this case, but so good. Alright, so 10 minutes. I'm going to ask you to do on page 15. Okay. Where is it? Page 15. I would like you to do 1m. Okay. And then you are going to do questions 5 and 6. They're the exam style questions. Okay. Now, just before you get on with that, let me tell you your homework. Right. So your homework, your prep work is on Show My Homework. There is a set of IGCSE past paper function notation questions. All right. So it's on Show My Homework. You've got to print it out. I said on it, you print it out. If you can't print it out for some reason, like I think you all should be able to, you just nip into the library or whatever and print it out. But if there's some problem, come and see me in good time. All right. But I don't think you should have a problem printing out still unless your login doesn't work or something. But it is on Show My Homework.
It's for Monday.
I think I've set it for next
Thursday.
Thursday so that you've got a chance to come and ask for help if you need it. Okay.